Hello, this is Gangnam Seoul. Among Korean songs, Gangnam Style is famous all over the world. The Gangnam mentioned in the song is this place. The most developed place in Korean history, with many high-rise buildings and a place where you can experience extreme capitalism. Seoul's representative economic districts are largely divided into three: Jongno in the north, Uido in the southwest, and Gangnam in the southeast. Jongno is the old capital of Korea, where there is a traditional palace and where the rich who have maintained their family lineage for a long time live. It is the center of Seoul's central areas that contain Korean history. Gangnam started developing relatively recently, in the 1970s, so it has a short history. Before that, it was a place where rice paddies used to be. Now, foreigners who visit here say that it feels like they've come to a city of the future. Seoul has changed in a truly amazing way. There are two main reasons why this place was developed. First, during the period when North Korea and South Korea were in fierce conflict, there was an incident where North Korean armed guerrillas infiltrated the presidential office. The North Korean military sent special forces to attempt to assassinate the South Korean president. At that time, a gunfight broke out, and it was a very big incident that almost led to another war between the South and the North after the armistice. Jongno, the center of Seoul, was not a safe area. It's still the same now. So they made a plan to move Korea's major institutions to the south of the Han River. At that time, it was not easy for the North Korean military to cross the 1-kilometer-wide Han River, and it was easy to defend. In Uido, the National Assembly building was newly built, the national broadcasting station was relocated, and it was designated as a financial business district, so private financial investment companies were relocated. Gangnam was designated as a development promotion district, so various tax regulations were eliminated. Major companies in Jongno opened offices in Gangnam, and a huge number of high-rise buildings were built. Ultimately, it was possible because the government encouraged the development of the Gangnam area. Since Gangnam was built as a new city, the roads are standardized like a chessboard, making driving very convenient. In Seoul, there is a big difference in the north and south car roads, based on the Han River. The northern part of Seoul has narrow roads, and many roads that were used to pull carriages thousands of years ago have been converted to car-only roads, making driving very inconvenient. On the other hand, the area south of the Han River was a new city, built in the 1970s, so the roads are wide, and there are relatively few electric poles. The forest of buildings in Gangnam is so huge that it is impossible to capture everything in one video. This is where major Korean conglomerates and small and medium-sized companies are concentrated. Major Korean companies such as Samsung and Hyundai, as well as most of the large companies in Korea, have offices and buildings here. The road I am walking on now is the most crowded area in Gangnam. Restaurants, cafes, and bars that people can enjoy are all gathered here. So in this video, I will mainly walk along this road where people are most crowded. If you look to the left, you can see a funnel-shaped shadow. That shadow was created recently. It's a facility I hadn't seen when I visited here last winter. It provides convenience by allowing wireless charging of phones. Gangnam is the administrative district in Seoul with the highest level of financial independence. It's where the most wealthy people live. In particular, many nouveau riche and celebrities live in Gangnam. There are many hospitals and plastic surgery clinics for skincare, and the Supreme Court is also very close to here. It's also the center of fashion and beauty in Korea. Gangnam is where the most luxury brands are located. As a result, it is the area with the most economic activity and the area with the highest taxes. If you look to the left, you can see a long line of people. These people are from other cities and are waiting for the inner-city bus. Gangnam is where many companies are concentrated and there are many jobs. Since it is a place where many people gather, it is the most expensive area in Seoul for housing. Many people work here, but because the cost of living in Seoul is so high, many people live in neighboring cities and commute here. The time I visited was around 6:30 p.m. on a Friday. This is when people are finishing work and going home. This is a common sight here at this time on weekdays. If you look at the road on the left, You can sometimes see a double-decker bus passing by. That bus is an inner-city bus. I went into the alley on the right. When you enter here, there are many low-rise buildings and mostly restaurants and cafes. There are so many restaurants that it is difficult to see them all. Most of the people who come here are office workers in Gangnam. After work, office workers often go to Gangnam to have a meal with their colleagues or to meet up. I didn't live in Seoul, but in a neighboring city. When I first came to Gangnam, I was surprised. There are many high-rise buildings and so many restaurants and cafes. I had never seen anything like this in my life. Especially when I lived in a city next to Seoul, we often met in Gangnam. About 9 million people live in Seoul, but about 2 million people live in the southern suburbs of Seoul. There is a large mountain between Seongnam and Anyang. That is why the traffic between the two nearby cities is very bad. Rather, it is much more reasonable to meet in Gangnam, Seoul. As a result, the Gangnam area is absorbing the population of neighboring cities and growing larger. Korea has many social problems because its infrastructure is too concentrated in Seoul. Jobs are disappearing in other cities, so people have no choice but to live in Seoul. Jobs are concentrated in Seoul, and there is a shortage of houses in Seoul, so house prices have risen significantly. This is a similar phenomenon in other countries, but Korea is in a serious situation as well. This is a place that many people visit, but compared to 5 years ago, there are a lot fewer people. This street may seem unfamiliar to foreigners, but it is a very ordinary street scene to Koreans. As the number of people using SNS has increased, the number of people showing off places they want to show off to others through photos or videos has increased. Gongtae Gangnam is less attractive to those people. This is because it is a place that is too familiar to Koreans. You can see more people in Apgujeong, where the richest people live in Gangnam, than here. The purpose is to show off on SNS by saying that they have been to such a nice place. That is why the vacancy rate of buildings here has been increasing recently. As you may have seen earlier, you often see empty buildings. This is because people passing by do not spend money here compared to the high rents. However, the owners of buildings here do not lower their rents. If they lower their rents, the value of the buildings will fall. Since they are extremely wealthy, they do not lose anything by leaving them empty. Due to this social problem, there are even voices calling for imposing taxes on vacant commercial buildings. The building you see in front is also empty. I don't know what will happen to this place in the future. But since it is an area with a lot of jobs, if the rent goes down, I think a lot of new commercial facilities will come in.
부하가 호텔이요. 스윗 스페이스.
야, 여기 아닌데? 에어컨이 안 나와서 그치? 내가 얘기했잖아. 근데 지금 저기 충사로 가냐 내 얘기를 들었어. 아니 저기 말이야.
I came out of the restaurant street. There are many high-rise buildings here too. I arrived at this place, which is 700 meters from the starting point. The starting point was where Gangnam Station was. This is Nanhyeon Station. This time let's turn around and walk again to see the place on the other side. If you look to the right, there are many high-rise buildings across the street. Most of them are hospital buildings. In particular, you can see many plastic surgery clinics. In Korean, it says plastic surgery. I can see 5 of them here. Gangnam has a lot of plastic surgery clinics and dermatology clinics. The beauty industry is concentrated here. The reason why there are so many plastic surgery clinics here is because there are so many prostitutes here. Prostitution is illegal in Korea. However, wherever people gather, there is prostitution. This place has a lot of prostitution targeting the rich. In order to be chosen by the rich, prostitutes have to compete with each other for their looks. In the end, they have no choice but to get plastic surgery. That's why when you walk down the streets of Gangnam, you can see people whose faces are so obvious that you can tell they've had plastic surgery. There was a time when there was a joke in Korea that all Gangnam women look the same. However, these days, plastic surgery technology has advanced so much that the trend is to have plastic surgery that suits one's face rather than following the trend. It's done to the point where you can't tell that this person has had plastic surgery. Korea's plastic surgery technology is world famous, so even people from other countries get surgery in Korea. It's like visiting Thailand to get sex change surgery. If you look to the right, you will see a tall building made of red bricks. That building is Kyobo Tower. It is a landmark building in Gangnam. It is the only red tall building, so it is easy to spot. That building is owned by Kyobo Life Insurance, the 3rd largest insurance company in Korea. The founder, Shin Young-ho, was born into a family of independence activists, and when he was young, he, his siblings, and his parents all fought against Japan. After Korea gained independence from Japan, he made a fortune and created an insurance company. The company has a large bookstore in the basement. During a time when Korea was experiencing rapid economic growth, he said that Seoul also needed a large bookstore, and despite his subordinates' dissuasion, he made the basement of the building into a bookstore. The entire basement level 1 and 2 of that large building is a bookstore. He emphasized the importance of books and knowledge, and left a will saying, even if the bookstore runs a deficit, make up for it with the profits of the insurance company. So, if you go to the bookstore there, you don't necessarily have to buy books. It's okay to sit and read books like in a library. It's okay to copy the contents as long as you don't damage the books. That's the business principle of that bookstore. If you go to Gwanghwamun in Seoul, there is a textbook store next to the statue of Yi Sun-sin. The basement there is also a bookstore. The bookstore he created is the #1 bookstore in Korea.
그냥 나 원래
I go into the left alley. This place has a very different atmosphere than the place I saw earlier. The restaurant street I saw earlier was densely packed with restaurants and cafes. This street has many entertainment facilities, such as bars and karaoke rooms. this is the main attraction of this alley. There are tents on the left and right. The weather is so hot that they turned on the air conditioner, so the tents are there. In spring or fall, the tents are taken down and you can see people eating Korean barbecue. All the restaurants here are for Korean barbecue. If you look inside the store, it's packed with people. They probably came after work to have some pork belly and soju with their coworkers. If you look to the left, you can see people wearing orange uniforms. They are probably employees of a liquor company. In Korea, you can often see employees of liquor companies promoting themselves on the streets, where there are many bars. It is still too early for people to drink now. At around 8 p.m., those employees will also be in full swing.
I thought we all.
I'm back on the road again. I'm gonna walk to the left.
기침하다 허리까지 막 뼈었어.
If you look at the front, Lee Kang-in is the model at the Adidas store. He is a popular soccer player among Koreans. Koreans saw him on a popular TV show called Children's Soccer Team when he was 6 years old. At that time, his skills were so outstanding that you might have thought he was a genius. It is very touching for Koreans that he grew up well and became a soccer player playing for a prestigious European club. This is the end of my Gangnam Walking video. Thank you for watching.